Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a new edition of our Google Expert Hangouts. The EHF EURO has arrived to Budapest. We're just one day out of the semi-finals, and I welcome our expert panel for tonight. Björn Pazen, our German journalist, who's been covering the main round Group 2 in Zagreb. Hi, Björn.
Hi, everybody.
Courtney Gahan from Australia, currently obviously also in Budapest. She's been covering Group A and the preliminary round, and now main round Group 2. Hi, Courtney.
Hello.
Peter Bruun from Denmark. Peter has obviously been following Denmark and Norway in Group B first, and then covered these two teams and 4 others in main round Group 1. Hi, Peter.
Hi, everyone.
And Vlado Brindzak, my beloved colleague from Slovakia, shares his expert knowledge with us again. Vlado has been covering first Group C, and then, well, he saw Slovakia going out in main round Group 2, but nevertheless, he's still with us. In a good mood, I hope, Vlado?
Definitely. Good evening to everybody.
Well, guys, I mean, we're calling that an expert hangout, but we asked all of you for your, predictions who would go through to the semi-final before the championship. And well, Courtney, the award for the best prediction actually goes to you. You actually got 2 correct. That's one more than Vlado and Peter.
Yeah, but if you take into account, I got 4 out of 6.
So you say 4 out of 6. How does that work? 4 out of 6.
Because I mentioned Norway for the game for the 5th place,
I don't remember that. That's not on my list. That's not on my list. Anyway, I mean, coming back to this, and Björn, and I mean, you've first been covering it from Germany, or following it from Germany, and now you've had a look at 6 teams in Zagreb. Do you think that was one of the most unpredictable championships, European championships so far that you've been following?
Luckily, I was not among you 4 when we made the predictions, but of course I made the prediction on my own. And I have to say, Courtney is still in lead in my prediction. From those 4 teams we will see in Budapest, it's only Montenegro what I predicted. The others were Denmark, France, and Russia. So I was completely wrong. Okay, yes, it was really unpredictable. So, for example, I would say if we have the final Sweden-Spain, and somebody would bet 10,000 euro 4 weeks ago, he will be a millionaire and buy a great yacht in Monte Carlo. So we had enough really surprising results and really surprising exits in the first part. And yes, so I expect that we might even get a surprise European champion this year. So a lot of things were not predictable before.
Peter, what do you think? What is the main reasons for that? Was it the weakness of the favorites? Was it that arguably weaker teams have caught up with what people deemed before favorites? What do you think?
First of all, I'm surprised to even have been invited to this experts hangout, as it should obviously be a hangout for experts. And considering my predictions ahead of the tournament, I don't think I can be considered an expert anymore. But at least I'm glad that one of my predictions held through, and one of my predictions was exactly that this was going to be a very close and tight tournament where it would really be difficult to point out any really clear favorites. When we are to talk about favorites who didn't make it anyway, of course Denmark springs to mind as a team which only finished 8th, even though many had seen them in the semi-final and maybe even going all the way. I was one of them, one of those who had tipped them to go to the final, and I based that, of course, on their brilliant performances in the test tournaments up to this tournament. They have definitely been a huge disappointment. Maybe we can later go into why that was. Another one, at least, of my dark horses or outsiders, one of the hosts, Croatia, well, went out already after the preliminary round. So in that respect, I'm in the same boat as Björn, who also has one of the teams who were sent out as semi-final candidates. So well, all in all, I'm not at all impressed by my own predictions, but at least the one about an unpredictable and very, very close European Championship, at least that one came true.
Courtney, out of the 4 semi-finalists, Montenegro, Spain, Sweden, and Norway, what's the biggest surprise package for you among those 4?
Well, I would say Spain. I mean, as you know, I predicted Norway and Sweden would be in the semi-finals. Look, I think that was luck. As we know, this has been all very close, a lot of surprises, but yeah, for me, Spain were a surprise, but especially considering their main rounds, they lost their 2 games in the main round, and I don't think I didn't predict that they would beat Denmark to take the spot, and they did. So even if you're not considering the beginning of the tournament, if that was a surprise in itself from Wednesday night, and yeah, I didn't predict Spain would be in the semi-finals. That was a surprise to me.
Guys, just a quick one. I think we have some sound problems here, which we can try and fix. Was that the same for all of you? Because if it is, then it's obviously also for our viewers.
Yeah.
Okay, so can you, do you have a headset, Courtney? Can you maybe plug in a headset?
I only have headphones. I don't have a headset. You can't hear me?
But now it's much better. Now it's much better.
Now. Don't move. Don't move.
Okay. Should I repeat what I said?
Nah, that's fine. That's fine. That's perfect.
Okay.
Spain, biggest surprise. Well, for all our fans following this Hangout tonight, obviously, please do tweet us your questions that you have to all our 4 experts at EHF EURO. It's our Twitter channel, or if you're following this event on Google+, you can also use the Q&A tool and get your questions straight to us. Vlado, your predictions were Hungary, France, Sweden, and Denmark. Talking about Sweden, why did you pick Sweden at the beginning? And well, they obviously confirmed your expectations, didn't they?
I told you about the dream I had before the first
Hangout. Oh, it was the 3-crown dream. Yes, I remember. Yeah.
No, honestly, their results in the preparation were really impressive. If you remember, they beat twice the defending world champion, Brazil, and yeah, I believe them, and I still believe that they will make it, and my dream will come true. They play fantastic handball all the way. Yeah, yesterday they lost against Montenegro, but it was a tough fight. They were leading by 5 goals. It could have gone either way. So I guess they were just unlucky at the end.
You also saw in your group C. You also saw the hosts, Croatia, going out after the group phase, which I think was a first in the women's EHF EURO event, and it only happened once in the men's before. What were the main reasons from your point of view?
Yeah, difficult question, but you know, everything was going according to the plan. Only the second match was the problem against Germany. And if you remember, the 12th minute and Miranda Tatari's injury. As I discussed it with Tanyuga, the now retired coach, basically what he said, it was not such a case like it was at the Olympics when Andrea Penezic got injured. The whole team was still looking at the bench and try to figure out whether Andrea would join or not, and they were nervous, and then they lost the quarterfinal against Spain. But this time, although they still stuck together and they fought very well, they were leading by 4 goals in this decisive game against Germany. At the end, Miranda's experience was really missed by her team. There were no player who could distribute the ball in the right direction, or who could take the responsibility and help a little bit in this brilliant shooting performance of Andrea Penasic. So I thought the breaking point was exactly in that injury. Otherwise, we would have seen Croatia at least through the main round.
Courtney, Peter, Vlado, you all picked Hungary to be among the final four here in Budapest. I mean, they will play for fifth place tomorrow. Courtney, you've been following them the longest, so to say, as they were in your Group A. What's your overall conclusion, or how would you rate Hungary's performance here? Maybe what was lacking for them to eventually make it to the semi-final?
Well, when you look back on their first game, they were very nervous right from the start. It was obvious. There were a lot of mistakes in their first game. They didn't play their best game at all against Russia, where they drew. But then they really learnt to use the home crowd. I think this was something. It seems like they talked about that a lot. I don't know. And the goalkeepers were responding really well to the crowd. This was why I thought that Hungary would go so far, because I know that they are a team that usually respond well to the crowd. But they also appeared to be quite inexperienced and a little afraid of the pressure of all the public expectation. So I think it was kind of a battle of that for them, a battle versus experience versus the advantage of the home crowd. And sometimes the home crowd really pushed them over the line, and sometimes it didn't. Sometimes they just couldn't. Their nerves definitely play a factor. You know, before they played Denmark and Norway, I interviewed Tomori, and she said that they were very nervous about playing against the Scandinavian style, but they were even more scared of playing against Norway. But then, so you could see this as soon as the game against Denmark started. They didn't have a strong game. Denmark was easily took control of the match. But then again, Hungary came out and shocked everyone and beat Norway yesterday. So it's really been up and down for them. It just depends on the day, kind of, whether they respond better to the home crowd, I think, or whether their kind of inexperience gets the better of them.
Your mention of Norway brings us straight to our first follower question here. Comes from Streck Spiller, who many of you guys will obviously probably know him from Twitter. That's his account. How can Norway be stopped other than by the flu, he asks. Maybe, Peter, I give that to you. I think they had two players yesterday who couldn't play because they were ill. I mean, they lost, obviously. It was a game that had technically no meaning to them, point-wise and ranking-wise. But Peter, how would you answer that question? Can Norway be stopped other than by the flu? And will they eventually be stopped by the flu in their semi-final against Sweden? Because as far as I've heard, there is a bit of talk in the Norwegian media about a couple of players being sick.
The latest news I've heard from the Norwegian camp is that everyone should be fit and well now. It has to be said that it was the best possible game to have players out with illness against Hungary, as you said, Thomas, had absolutely no significance with regards to the Hungarians, also the Norwegians' placement in the tournament. It's correct that both left wingers, Herren and Sander Solskjaer, were not able to play due to the flu, and both goalkeepers had just got up from the bed just before the game. But according to the latest reports from the Norwegian camp, everyone should be at least well again. The question is then how much the illness has weakened them physically ahead of the semi-finals and finals. But to give a short answer to Streisbiller's question, if Norway can be stopped by anything by the flu, my short answer is no. They can't. What I have seen from Norway when they've been at their best, I really don't see any of the opponents or potential opponents in the semi-final or final stopping them. I know that Sweden have, at least they have surprised me, they have probably performed over what anyone could expect of them. I don't see them stopping Norway. And Norway in the final, well, we may have a repeat of the final in Serbia in 2012 when Montenegro defeated Norway after 2 extra times. I wouldn't mind 2 extra times again. That was fantastic, thrilling and exciting. But I'm not sure Montenegro will pull that again. My prediction right now, if Norway don't get any more players down in the room or something else, then we will see Norway as European champions. And with my success with predictions in mind, this will probably all be wrong.
Well, I'd obviously, Vlado, I don't have to ask you because you keep constantly dreaming about like Swedish crowns and so. Björn, would you agree with Peter, or do you think there's a chance that that Sweden, you wrote about, you know, the spirit of 2010, can actually have an even more successful 2014?
At first, usually, you know, Peter and I in all hangouts, usually we agree in everything, and so all my predictions are also wrong. So I agree absolutely with Peter in terms of the semi-final with Sweden. I think that Norway is clearly in the favorite role for the semi-final with Sweden, but I believe, in contrast to Peter, maybe we'll see 2 extra times again. I believe that Montenegro has the power to stop Norway and to defend their title. And you know, who knows, women's handball is capable of the fact that about 60% of women's handball is in the head. And when you see how Montenegro yesterday turned the match around after a -5 against Sweden, and how strong they were, how confident they were, and how strongly they defended. In my opinion, the more difficult part for them is the semi-final with Spain. But if it comes to a final with Norway, I would predict 2 extra times with the winner of Montenegro.
Mm-hmm. You said, you know, 60% of women's handball was in the head. Do you think that that final still weighs on many players' minds? I mean, if we assume it happens that way, do you think that would be the case?
At first I would say the Scandinavian teams, both Sweden and Norway, have absolute advantage of their mentality. They have this winners mentality. They much more enjoy everything like other teams. Maybe if you not look at Jovanka Radicevic from Montenegro, she seems to be Scandinavian forefathers, as she celebrates every goal like a Norwegian player. But I would say it's really inside the head, and this is might be the problem for Montenegro. They know they are a little bit in the favorite role with Spain now, so this might be the problem. But if they would play Norway now in the semi-final, they would not be the favorites, and this changes the mind. So I would say it's a matter of mentality and of mental stability.
Well, Vlado, now I do have to ask you. Give us some reasons why Sweden beat Norway tomorrow.
There is a simple reason. It's a
derby. That's not your dream. No, that's not a reason.
No, it's a derby match, you know, and derby match never has any favorites, so it can go either way. I think these teams, they can't surprise each other. It will be decided very late in the game, and as these 2 guys, Peter and Björn, see the extra time only in the final, then I see that already in the semi-final.
Courtney,
maybe if I can add more, then mainly I would rely on a great performance by Bella Gulden. She's absolutely brilliant at this tournament, and I hope that she will pull her team to this victory against Norway.
Courtney, Björn mentioned the other semi-final already quite detailed. How many chances do you see for Spain, and what kind of advice would you give them for tomorrow's semi-final against Montenegro?
Advice I would give Spain.
I
don't want to underestimate Spain. You know, I didn't expect they would beat Denmark. I thought that they were going to struggle against the Danish defense, which is quite strong and quite tall. I think that Montenegro are probably quite similar. So initially, I might have said that Montenegro would stop Spain in defense, but after their performance against Denmark, I don't want to underestimate them. They didn't start very strong against the Danish defense, but they learnt to make their way through. They like to break through, and at first they couldn't find gaps, but then they adapted to what Denmark was giving them, and they as we know, they won in the end. So I certainly don't want to underestimate them. I think they're really a surprise package. yeah, and I think they're very smart. They play very smart handball, and they're able to adapt their playing style very quickly. So, yeah, I think I agree with the guys. These semi-final matches are going to be really tough. Yeah, I expect they're going to be very close.
Peter, we've got another question here from one of our followers. Brings us back to Denmark, and we get asked, which are the what are the feelings at the moment in the Danish team after their elimination, and how's the media responding to this surprise? Maybe you can give us an update on this.
Obviously, there's a huge disappointment in the Danish team and in the entire Danish camp. Of course, the Danes had expected more themselves, and they had every right to, based on what they have been achieving and performing up to this tournament. Regarding the Danish media, they are more or less merciless in their criticism of the team and also of the coach Jan Pytlik. There have even in some media been debate about his future as Danish national coach. The general opinion in the Danish media, if we look isolated at the match against Spain last night, is that the Danish team more or less disintegrated and gave up in the second half, where they, as we all remember, were down by 10 goals with less than 5 minutes left before they managed to put a bit of cosmetics on the result. So, in general, the feelings about the Danish performance is disappointment all over, and that actually goes for their performance in the entire tournament, not only against Spain, but obviously the last impression is always the strongest. But in general, the feeling is that the Danes have been too inconsistent, too unstable, and have hit their peak too few times in the tournament, and that's the reason why they're out and ending in a disappointing 8th position.
I mean, isn't it a bit odd from your point of view, this putting Jan Pytlik's position in question? Because I remember after Denmark's game against Hungary, when he obviously came up with this 7 against 6 idea, and they played it for I don't know how many minutes of the game. He was hailed and praised for his tactical mastermind, and just 60 minutes later, literally, they question him.
Well, that just illustrates how fast things can change in top sports, doesn't it? It seems that many Danes and also many in the media have forgotten that the original goal for this team is to reach their peak at the World Championship on home ground in a year from now, and at the Olympic tournament in Rio de Janeiro in less than 2 years. But of course, they have put some pressure on themselves of expectations because of their fine performances lately. Starting with a bronze medal at the World Championship in Serbia last year, where they broke a 9-year medal draft, and then their rather fine and consistent performances in the 2 Golden Leagues this autumn. That has obviously brought the expectations to a level where they could not really stand.
The questions keep flowing in, and Laura Agena, who I think worked with you in London 2012, didn't she, Björn? She's asking you, because you talked about the mental aspect of the game, and she wonders whether that possibly gives Spain an edge over Montenegro tomorrow. And she makes the point that they already had their revenge against Hungary, because Hungary beat them last year at the World Championship. They now surprisingly, or in very confident fashion, beat Denmark. So they go into this semi-final obviously on a high. But is this enough, or do you stick to what you said before, that Montenegro will go through to the final?
The most funny thing about this semi-final is, of course, I asked Dragan Acic, the Montenegrin coach, right after his match, when he knew that he was group winner, what is the favorite team that he wants to have in the semi-final. He only said Denmark, absolutely Denmark, having in mind, and then we had the mental aspects, that 3 years ago at the World Championship in Brazil, they faced Spain, and they were the clear favorites against Spain in the 8th final. And in the end, Spain played an incredible defense with incredible Navarro in the goal, and Montenegro, who were talking about semi-final, final, and everything like this. They were out after the first knockout stage, and so I don't think that the Montenegrin team will talk a lot about this match 3 years ago. But of course, Spain has a high flyer. Everybody, I would not say everybody, but 80% of the experts or fans expected Denmark to win against Spain and to go to the semifinals. And they made, at the point they needed 2 points after 2 defeats, they made this great match. And this can also cause a high flyer on the mental stage. So I believe that 2 very confident teams will face each other. And yes, nobody expected Spain, I would say, in the semifinal in the beginning. So they have nothing to lose. It's like for them, like in the Olympic Games in London, when they also made it to the semifinal and finally won their bronze medal. They are underdogs. They have nothing to lose, and maybe this sets some power free, which they would not have if they would be the favorites.
Let's talk a bit about going away from the teams and talk about players. Vlado, who is for you the most outstanding, or maybe you can name 2 or 3, the 2 or 3 most outstanding players that have really impressed you at this tournament so far?
Well, I already mentioned the one I'm totally impressed, Bella Gudien, as a center back, and I can give you one name for each position actually. That wouldn't be a problem.
Okay, that's a big announcement. We're going to start Vlado's after the main round EHF EURO All-Star team. Go ahead, Vlado. One for each position.
From left to right, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. Right to left, left to right, up and down, however you want to name it.
Okay, so left wing, Anne-Grete Norgaard, yeah?
Yeah.
Left back, Kristina Neagu. Center back, Bella, as I mentioned. Line player, Heidi Löke. Right back, Katarina Bulatovic. She was impressive in the last 2 games especially. And right wing, Carmen Martin. And the goalkeeper, it's a difficult question. I didn't really see, I just saw partially the matches from the other groups in Hungary, but I think we didn't see like amazing goalkeeping from any of these girls, but so far the most impressive was Paula Ungureanu, especially in the later stages of the tournament.
Well, it's interesting that you mention it, because I mean, all your followers here at this Google Hangout, go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/EHF EURO. You will find just been uploaded the top 7 players clip for the main round, and there are actually quite a few players mentioned in there that Vlado also mentioned. I
swear I didn't see that.
Yeah, that's I think Bulatovic is also in there. Gulden is in there. Löke is in there. Well, we'll see. Find out yourself, youtube.com/EHF EURO. Courtney, who has been the most outstanding player for you? You can name an all-star team. You can stick to just 3. That's entirely up to you.
Yeah, I'm not sure I can come up with the whole team off the top of my head. Really, the only position I'm stuck with is that it's not a left wing that has really stood out to me. Not one in particular. I agree with Vlado. Kristina Neagu is absolutely one of my favorite players now. You already know that. And Ungureanu, also from Romania, she was amazing in the last 3 main round matches. Her average for those 3 matches was 49%, and she was just unstoppable. It was incredible. I've also, Carmen Martin, of course, has been great for Spain. She was only stopped of her 100% record on penalties by Romania's keeper. She was the only one able to finally stop her. Those have probably been my very favourites. I really also, for Hungary, Gabriela Toth, or Toth, who has just been substituted into the squad for the main round. She's only 18 years old, and she started the match in centre-back yesterday and scored, I think, 3 goals very early on, and she was lots of assists. She's a very exciting player. She didn't have the opportunity to play a great deal, but I think that we can expect to see a lot from her in the future, which is exciting.
Peter, when we look again at the semi-finals, what do you think will make the difference in the end. The team spirit of each team, how they really work together as a team, all these outstanding key players we just mentioned. I mean, you know, Golden for Sweden, Leuke for Norway, Bulatovic for Montenegro, or Martin for Spain.
Well, there is an old saying in top sports, and that if you are going to have success in the deciding matches, your key players will have to be on the top of their performances, and obviously that will mean that some of the players you mentioned and a few more will have to be at their absolute perform at their absolutely best in order for their teams to be successful. Apart from that, it's of course when these matches these things who are decided in just one match, well, it's very much a question of who hits the day, who has the best form of the day. Of course, the team spirit, the spirit among the players plays a big part. But if we're going to look at the handball part of it a bit more, then of course it's a long part of the way. It's a question of who is best prepared for the opponent tactically. I think we have seen a lot of exciting tactical maneuvers at this European Championship, maybe more than we have seen in many previous major tournaments among the women. One of the most debated ones has, of course, been the 7-against-6 play, which the Danes have been practicing most consequently. But in general, we have seen a lot of interesting tactical moves, and that will, I think, be playing a big part in the semifinals as well as, of course, in the final. And of course, also the physical strength. The teams with the physically strongest players in the defense will, of course, have a chance, at least if they are allowed to by the referees. So all these things added together will be deciding in those deciding matches, which again shows us that you can't just narrow it down to one or two things. It's many factors on days like that.
Mm-hmm. More questions coming in. Björn, I give that to you, even though it says question to Peter, but because it's related to Sweden. What were Sweden's key strengths to make it to the semi-finals? Well, the follow-up question, obviously, straight away, is that enough to beat Norway? Can they beat Norway?
So I think the strength of Sweden is when you see them entering the team hotel or entering the hall, they have a body language which just says, we have such a fun here, we are a great group of players, we have this team spirit that Peter just mentioned, and they're a group of players which has joy to play together, which is of course big work for the coaches, Helen Thomsen maybe, and yes, this group likes to play with each other. This group has fun of playing handball, and this group, as Vlado, I have to admit, has a player like Isabel Gulden and like Linnea Torstensen on strong wings. So I would say it's not the Swedish defense this time, it's the Swedish attack and this team spirit they have. And I would say they can beat Norway if they're close until minute 50, because Norway, I would say, Norway expects to be in clear lead in minute 48, 49, 50, and if Sweden is still on the same level, as they use their whole bench, in contrast to a team like Montenegro, who only use 8, 9, 10 players, Sweden use all their players, and I would say that the Swedish players, of course, had a tough match against Montenegro, but they look quite powerful. So if they can stand the heat until the last 10 minutes and are equal, then they have a chance to beat Norway.
Vlado, anything you add? You've seen Sweden in Varaždin and Zagreb, so you've seen.
It was really impressive, and exactly as Björn said, I think the first thing he mentioned is probably their strongest weapon, the team spirit. It was such a huge difference staying with the 3 teams in Varaždin in this Sveti Martin resort when you saw Sweden. Or what I wanted to mention as well, Netherlands. There were such a great bunches of players showing the team spirit not only also off the court. That this could be their secret weapon, and also the slight underdog position as well. But as I said, Derby doesn't know any favorites. So exactly.
Well, guys, we're coming closer to the end of this hangout, and well, it is time for predictions. It is prediction time. Any volunteers for first? I mean, obviously, you know, for first go, obviously we need the 2 winners of the semi-finals, and we need the overall winner. So
Then I'm a volunteer.
Okay, Björn goes first.
Norway, Montenegro, and the winner is Montenegro after 1 extra time this time.
Okay. So Montenegro spares 10 minutes compared to 2012 and still beats Norway. Courtney, what do you think?
Well, I predicted that Denmark would beat Spain the other day, so I'm not going to underestimate Spain again. I'm going to say that Spain are going to win, and they will face Norway in the final. I said right at the beginning that Norway were going to win, so I'm going to stand by that, and let's hope I'm right.
Peter?
Well, I simply have to copy Courtney now that I come after her, because my prediction would also be that Spain defeats Montenegro and Norway defeat Sweden in the semifinals, and that obviously means a final between Norway and Spain. And I think, although I am far from being sure that we will see a narrow Norwegian win here, but I see Spain as a team who can tease Norway quite a lot with their inventive attacking play and with their physically strong defensive play. The Norwegians might have their problems, but it will be, I think, if we get that final, a very, very interesting final between two of the greatest tactical minds in this tournament, in my opinion, the coaches from Norway and Spain. So I don't only expect a final between Norway and Spain. I would really like to see one.
And
also, may I just add, also because the first match I saw in the main round between Norway and Spain is one of the best women's handball matches I've ever seen. Let's have a remake of that, please. That would be great promotion for women's handball.
Also result-wise, so you think that it might be like a similar result in the end? With Norway, I think it was.
I wouldn't be surprised if it would be a 2 or 3 goal win for Norway at the end. I would not be surprised by that at all.
Okay, Vlado, last in the row, last word for you.
Well, I'm going to put my name at stake for this, but faint heart never won fair lady. So I go for the final, Sweden versus Spain, and. As I said, I believe my dreams, and Sweden will win against Spain. And what I also want to say, and I'm pretty convinced that we are going to see 5 fantastic games, and it's really cool that we have Hungary still in game somehow, and we'll have a fantastic atmosphere in the arena in Budapest. And
if your predictions come true, you will win a lady on Sunday.
Well, that's just the saying. I'm not. I already won one. I'm satisfied with that.
Good. Well, guys, thank you very much. Thanks for watching, and thanks for following this hangout. The semifinals take place tomorrow. The finals then throw off on Sunday, 6 and 8:30 tomorrow, and 3:30 and 6 o'clock on Sunday, local time here in Budapest. You can watch all games live on demand on EHFTV.com, and we'll be back with our hangouts once the Women's Champions League and the Vlux EHF Champions League resume, then back to club handball. So bye for now. Thanks again. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.